4.7 million years ago, your ancestor, a small, fragile being called Ardipithecus, opened her eyes in East Africa, and every morning the odds were brutal. 6 out of every 100 of her kind would be hunted down and eaten. Not maybe, not someday certain death. She couldn't sprint. Her teeth weren't sharp enough to pierce even an apple. She had no claws. In a world filled with saber-toothed predators and crocodiles the length of cars, she was little more than a walking snack. By all logic, she should have vanished in just a few days. But here you are, watching this, proof she didn't just survive. She did something so unexpected, so revolutionary, that it transformed the planet forever. Tonight you'll discover how the weakest, slowest, most vulnerable creature in Africa rewrote the rules of survival, how your ancestors turned fragility into strength, how they faced predators pulled straight from nightmares and still won. Close your eyes. Imagine East Africa, 4.7 million years ago. You're standing in what will one day be Ethiopia, but nothing feels familiar. The ground shudders, not from traffic or machinery, but from the earth itself tearing apart. A mountain that didn't exist yesterday rises 300 feet high and keeps growing. This isn't weather. This isn't normal. This is the East African Rift Valley being born, splitting the continent in two. The air burns with sulfur. Lightning lashes the sky. The forests that had sheltered countless generations are collapsing, replaced by open grasslands where there's no place to hide. High in the trees, a figure clings to her child. Not quite ape, not quite human. Ardipithecus ramidus. She doesn't know her scientific name, only that her world is ending. The forest that fed her mother's mother's mother is dying. The grassland spreads like fire, and silence has become survival, because infants who cry don't last long here. Below, a saber-toothed cat stalks past, following the scent of something else dying. It doesn't notice her this time. But here's the difference. Instead of retreating into the vanishing forest like her cousins will, she looks out at the grassland and senses possibility. Her body is already shifting. Feet with grasping toes beginning to adapt for walking, a straighter spine giving her a higher view above the grass, smaller teeth making competition less important than cooperation. She is the first faint glimpse of us. The earthquake fades, the volcano keeps growing, and in the middle of this planetary chaos, she does something extraordinary. She climbs down from her tree, clutches her child, and steps into the open, upright, vulnerable, exposed, moving forward. And that is the true moment everything changed. Not the volcano, not the cracking earth, but the choice of a small, fragile primate to adapt instead of vanish, to choose cooperation over conflict, to face danger rather than hide. Because of that step, you exist. Every human being alive today owes their life to the moment when courage outweighed fear, when change was embraced instead of resisted. No monuments marked it, no crowds witnessed it, just a single figure walking upright across dangerous ground, proving that even the weakest can change the world. It all began with a fracture, a hairline crack in Earth's crust, invisible at first. But by 4.7 million years ago, it had become a geological catastrophe, the East African Rift Valley. It wasn't just reshaping the land, it was forging humanity in fire and pressure. Picture the ground splitting an inch each year. Seems slow, until you realize that means 83 feet of separation within a single human lifetime. Family hunting grounds cut in half, rivers changing course overnight, lakes appearing, then vanishing within decades. The earth was performing surgery on itself, without mercy or anesthesia. Modern science confirms the violence of this process. Geologist Cynthia Ebinger documented how rifting triggers chains of volcanoes, magnitude 7 earthquakes, and clouds of poison gas capable of killing everything for miles. Now imagine enduring that, not for a day or a year, but for millions of years. For millions of years, the Rift Valley became evolution's laboratory. On one side, forests clung desperately to survival. On the other, golden grasslands spread like a beautiful death, endless, dazzling, but leaving no place to hide. Our ancestors were caught in between, trapped in a world that demanded mastery of both environments or extinction, and yet the rift gave as much as it destroyed. Volcanic soil turned barren ground into fertile oases that drew grazing herds. Springs burst from fractured rock, offering fresh water. Cliffs and caves carved by earthquakes became shelters. Within walking distance, landscapes shifted like puzzle pieces. If one food source failed, another thrived just over the ridge. This fragmentation created what scientists now call habitat islands. Populations were split apart, forced to evolve in isolation. Like Darwin's finches on steroids, groups separated by just a few miles developed different strategies, tools, even ways of walking. Evolution was running multiple experiments at once, and here's the key. Instability itself fueled bigger brains. When your homeland changes constantly, memorizing landmarks becomes useless. What you need is pattern recognition, abstract thought, the ability to predict, improvise, and adapt. The rift didn't just reshape Africa's geography, it cracked open the minds of our ancestors. Ardipithecus ramidus lived at the very center of this chaos. Fossils found in volcanic sediments trace their existence along the rift's margins. They weren't just bystanders, they were children of upheaval. Every adaptation, from upright walking to raising young cooperatively, was sculpted by a world in flux. The fossil record tells a grim story, species appearing, thriving briefly, then vanishing within thousands of years. But one lineage endured, not by resisting change, but by embracing it. They learned to see danger from a distance by walking upright. They learned to cooperate because survival alone was impossible. Even today, satellites show the rift still tearing East Africa apart. In 10 million years, the region will be an island. The process that made us continues, indifferent to the fact that its greatest creation now studies it from space. But 4.7 million years ago, standing at the epicenter of this planetary wound, our ancestors did something astonishing. They refused to break. Let me show you the most beautiful nightmare Earth ever created. East Africa at that time was breathtaking, a paradise designed to kill. Each sunrise revealed landscapes that looked like heaven, but devoured the unprepared. 6 out of every 100 individuals never lived to see the next dawn. Imagine crater lakes so clear they mirrored snow-capped volcanoes, forests where light fell through the canopy like stained glass, grasslands rolling like oceans of gold. It looked like Eden. It hunted like hell. In those lakes lurked crocodiles with skulls 10 feet long, not fish-eaters, but sprinting predators that could gallop on land. Fossil skulls of early hominin children bear their bite marks. In the trees above, crowned eagles nested, 7-foot wingspans, talons built to pierce primate skulls. We know because tiny fossilized skulls bear the puncture wounds of their claws. On the grasslands, saber-toothed cats turned open plains into killing fields. Dinophalis, the terror cat, specialized in hunting primates. Fossils of its victims are scattered around early hominin sites. Coincidence? The tooth marks say otherwise. And yet, our ancestors chose this place. They could have stayed in the deep, stable forests where their cousins, the chimpanzees, remained unchanged for millions of years. But Ardipithecus ramidus stepped into the danger zone, the shifting edges between forest and savanna. Death rates soared there, but so did opportunities. Why? Because paradise with teeth was also a classroom. Every day survived was a lesson. Which bird calls went silent when a leopard prowled, which rustling meant a snake versus the wind, which waterholes drew predators at dawn, but were safe at dusk. The fossil record shows that while forest apes barely changed, these edge-dwellers evolved at lightning speed. They developed sentinel behavior, some watching while others fed. They invented vocal alarms to distinguish eagle from snake from cat. They learned to read the land like scripture, written in blood and survival. Even their bodies adapted. Their strange mix of grasping, tree-climbing feet and upright walking was perfect for edge environments. Climb when necessary, walk when possible. Their smaller teeth mattered too. In a world where cooperation meant more than combat, fangs were less useful than friends. Every glittering landscape was a test. Crater lakes taught seasonal rhythms. When flamingos gathered, rains followed. Grasslands taught fire, as lightning ignited natural burns that opened space and herded prey. Forest galleries became natural highways, corridors of safety through perilous land. Our ancestors lived in Earth's most beautiful slaughterhouse, and instead of retreating, they studied it. They mastered it. They turned a paradise full of predators into humanity's first university. The diploma was survival. The graduation rate, 6% were eaten. The survivors became us. Now imagine this. One morning you wake up and winter is gone. Not delayed, erased for the next 1,000 years. Then, just as you adapt to endless summer, an ice storm sets in and lasts for centuries. Welcome to the Pliocene climate, the planet's wild mood swings that forged humanity. 4.7 million years ago, Earth couldn't make up its mind. Global temperatures seesawed 5 to 6 degrees Celsius like a thermostat in the hands of a restless child. During warm phases, palm trees sprouted in Antarctica and crocodiles swam in the Arctic. Then came plunges so severely